What do you do if you're at a port of entry or an airport and a CBP immigration officer accuses you of making a misrepresentation or a fraudulent claim? What do you do next? Join us today, Immigration Wednesdays. We're going to talk about that and how you may be able to get out of that problem. Hi, I'm attorney Jeff Peak, and there's a part of immigration law that has a very strict punishment if you make a misrepresentation, a willful misrepresentation, or a fraudulent statement to immigration officers when you're basically knowingly or willfully misrepresenting a material fact. And those words are important, material fact, in order to obtain a visa or admission. And we see this all the time. It could be something like you have somebody who traveled before on a tourist visa, overstayed, had a child here, go back to their country to renew that visa, and don't mention they have a child because it would be obvious that they overstayed. You can have people that say they're coming in to visit a family member, but reality is they already have a job in the United States and they've been working in the United States. You have people that lied about the last time they came in and how long they stayed. Those are just a few examples. There can be many misrepresentations that are material. Now, material would be something that if immigration knew, they would probably not give you that visa, or you'd be in violation and need a waiver for. What could be an example of something that's not material? Well, I had a case recently where a client told them he was coming on a tourist visa because he had left his car back inside the United States and he wanted to fly in, pick it up, and drive it back. He was Canadian. And so they said, okay, we're gonna give you 10 days. You think you can do that in 10 days? Yeah, I can do that in 10 days. Flies down, decides at the last minute, you know what, I'm just gonna leave the car here, I'm not gonna take it back, and then flew back. He actually left in the time that they gave him. But next time he saw immigration officers, they were actually bothered by the fact. They said, well, you told us you were going to get the car. So that could be, now, although they were upset, was that a material No, it had no bearing on whether or not he would have been admitted. It was just a small change in plans once he got here. But you can find immigration officers making a case that something was material when it wasn't, right? Did you knowingly do it? Did you say something that you knew was wrong or knew was a lie? Or did you say something that you unknowingly knew was not true? That could be potential questions that your attorney has to look at. The problem is, once they make a claim, once the officer says, no, you've made a misrepresentation, now you've got a problem, because now under Section 212A6 of the Immigration Nationality Act, you are blocked from coming to the United States under any kind of visa unless you get a waiver. So we're going to talk a little bit about how you might get that waiver or pardon to be able to come back to the United States. Okay? Now, before we do that, there's one kind of claim that there is no waiver for, and that's what it says here, a false citizenship claim. That is the big no-no. You cannot do that in immigration law because it's just the harshest punishment. If you do it after the new law is implemented, after '96, there is no waiver for that. The only exception for that is if you had two citizen parents and you just thought you were a citizen by nature of the fact that they were citizen, but for whatever reason maybe they hadn't filled out the right forms for you yet. That's pretty much it. Any other false claim to citizenship, it blocks you for life. Now, maybe you may have an excuse. Maybe you were 10 years old or 9 years old and your mom or dad made you do it. Maybe they have some leeway to forgive you on that just because you were being told as a child. But if you're old enough and you make that false claim of you as a citizen and you get caught, that's it for you. You're never going to be able to get status in the United States. So it's very important to know that is a huge disqualifier. Now, moving on to the waivers for other types of misrepresentation. You have two kinds of people coming to the United States. People who want to immigrate to the United States. This is people who are usually getting it through family, but it also could be through work. They're going to become permanent residents when they get here. Then you have non-immigrant visas. These are people coming on temporary visits. Could be tourism, could be a student visa, it could be a work visa. These people come knowing that they're going to pass a time here. Could be a year, could be 3 years, but eventually they will have to leave the country, all right? Immigrant visa waiver, the waiver for misrepresentation for an immigrant visa is actually a little bit stricter than the non-immigrant one. Why? Because you have to have a U.S. citizen or permanent resident spouse or a U.S. citizen or permanent resident parent to qualify for that. Note there that if you are the parent of a U.S. citizen or permanent resident and you do not have a citizen or resident spouse, you are not eligible for this waiver, right? So occasionally you'll see parents who came in here, maybe they entered on a visa, but they said something that was untrue when they gained access. And then later on they want to adjust status or get status to their child. Well, if that misrepresentation is known to immigration, and that parent is not married to a U.S. citizen resident, they're not eligible for that waiver, even though they have a U.S. citizen child who's 21 years old who can file for them. So that's a very important, you have to have a spouse or a parent to qualify for that waiver. And then you have to show extreme hardship to that person in order to grant that waiver. So those are two factors to qualify for that. And the extreme hardship's not just a given. You have to put in evidence of showing how the hardship works. The non-immigrant visa is different. It's under 212D3. There's a form I-192 you file out. That form you could process either at the consulate. Some people can do it at the CBP ports of entry, usually in Mexico or Canadians. It could be up to 5-6 months through the consulates. It could be 4 to 5 months at the port of entry. So you need to do that in advance of your planned travel, just to make sure they have enough time to adjudicate when you want to come in. This doesn't require any kind of hardship showing to family members. That's the good news. Now there's a kind of a 3-pronged test that they've used. Is there risk or harm to society if they let you into the country? How seriousness was the prior immigration violation or criminal violation? And what is the importance of the reasons for seeking entrance to the United States? So they kind of use that as a balancing test. However, luckily they've ruled that there is no requirement that your reason for entering the United States be compelling. So you don't have to have some super important reason. It doesn't have to be a humanitarian or exceptional need to come in. It just needs to be compelling. It doesn't need to be compelling. So you just need to have a reason. It could be a job, it could be visiting family, and that's fine. Okay, and notice the time, there's the different periods of time frames for adjudicating those that will add more time to the normal processing time, so you need to prepare for that. These are tricky waivers. I would advise you to consult with or hire a lawyer to help you prepare for them. They're not easily given. You should be proud if you ever get approved for one of these, because overcoming the fraud and misrepresentation is a big deal to immigration. So it's unfortunate that it happens, but there is a way out of it for most people. Again, not a way out of it if you make a false citizenship claim, but other kinds of misrepresentations you can. I hope this information was helpful to you. We would love to help you if you ever have questions. Again, Peek and Tolan, I'm Jeff Peek. We have 20 years, board certified experts helping people with immigration questions. Love to help you. And we'll see you next Wednesday with more information.